Check, check, check. Let's go. Hello, 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 my dear friends. How are all of you doing tonight? It is a Monday night, Memorial Day night, Monday, May 25th, which, for those of you that don't know, Monday, May 25th, or I mean May 25th in general, that is the official 4-year anniversary for our beloved community building Decentraland. 4 years ago today, Kanessa and I took a faithful leap into Twitter Spaces, like just thinking we wanted to, begin a space. To allow people to have the opportunity to speak their minds, share their voices within Decentraland, and who would have known that the journey would have gone this deep, like from day one, how deep it went. um Makes me so happy. Welcome everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, to those of you that are here at La Cantina, hello Alan Howick, hello Oddjob, welcome. We got Bernie Roots, we got Craftman in the building. Hello dear amigos, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello J Name. We got Jiggles in the building. I see you Jiggles, I see you Jiggles. Hello lovely 17, so nice to see you. Welcome Mohedi. Hello official Cube Man. Hello, hello, hello. We got old guy in the building. We got Rustan in the house. We even have the smoothiest in the building. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Everyone, make sure to claim your OP badge. The OP badge is down here at the bottom. At the bottom of, like, if you just jump off the cave and go in here in the hex, you can claim your OP badge. And then if you want to get back up without taking the elevator, you could jump on this Decentraland sign and then double jump back up, and you'll make it back to where you were here. Now I can position myself right in between old guy and Jay, where I was. So, yep. So we have Peanut in the background. We got him in the background. We got Peanut in backstage. It's gonna be a fun episode. Peanut just seems like such a genuine person. He was a recommendation from our previous guest, Thai Revolution, the co-founder of Community of Communities. So I definitely am very excited to invite Peanuts to be on the NFT. This is going to be a great episode, and can't wait to learn more about him. So one final thing, everyone, you know how we love Bucktown around here. Bucktown is our official sponsor of Beyond the NFT. They keep the lights on when it comes to server costs here, so I always got to show love to Bucktown, of course. We got Jay Isip over in Vegas, who just opened his new barbershop. Definitely check him out if you're in Vegas. Hit him up, let me know. But we're talking about Bucktown right now. Bucktown is a mixed martial arts program focused on empowering young combat athletes all around the world. If you would like to learn more about Bucktown, head on over to bucktown.org/support. And there you could read a little more about the program, as well as pick up your very own Bucktown merchandise and NFTs. All proceedings go back to the program. Thank you, Bucktown, for being our sponsor. All right. So let's take a look here. See, at the list, we're up to 15 people here. We got iOS waifu in the building. I wonder if Toxic is just in bed with her iPhone, like, let me just join Beyond the NFT. We love you, Toxic. I know it's gets into your sleepy hours. Beyond the NFT does. Julia Sky, welcome. Thank you very much for being here. Or maybe iOS waifu is here looking for Mew phone. Who this? Never know. We'll never know. All right, all right. So I'm gonna go silent here for a little bit. I'm going to get our guest, and we'll get started for tonight's episode of Beyond the NFT. I'm excited, everyone. Thank you. Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the NFT. I am your host, Sinful, and tonight we're joined by the one and only Peanut. He is a dedicated community builder, project lead for long lost NFTs. He is a spaces architect and is involved with projects like Ziggy on Base and Left Click Labs. He's beloved in Web3 for his genuine positivity, incredible energy, and the way he brings people together. Get ready for a warm, uplifting conversation about community, leading with heart, and building meaningful connections in this space. Let's go beyond the NFT. Welcome, 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 Peanut. How are you doing today?
Doing wonderful, doing wonderful. Appreciate the invite. Love to start the week off here on a Monday. I know it's still the holiday weekend for some of us here in the US, so great to again just start the week with wonderful people like yourself, and looking forward to learning a little bit more about everyone tuning in here. Appreciate your guys' support, carving time out of your day to be here, and as always, just doing what I can to tap into different live streams, different spaces, and continue to connect with new people and learn some new things each and every day.
Of course, yes. We have definitely, like, when it comes to a crowd, we got a crowd of heavy hitters here. Like, I mean, I'm seeing Rustan and Bernie Roots. I think I saw Stony here, Stony Eye. There's Odd Job and Alan Howick, Graph Gold. These names are just some of the more like the talented individuals that reside around us here in Decentraland. There's Mauhedi. He'll He wouldn't tell you, but he's actually an excellent builder on Decentraland. Like he's he's one of those friends that we all love, and he kind of like is always like just chilling in the background, being cool, but he has some building skills. But yes, Peanut, so good to have you here on Beyond the NFT. Usually, I like to begin every episode by just passing the mic over to you, and in case my intro did you no justice, like just allow you the opportunity to say hello to everyone and tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, appreciate it a ton. And no, you definitely did a great job. That's why I try to be mindful with the bio and what I put in there. I think sometimes, I think sometimes people in the space aren't maybe as meticulous or as mindful of what they put in their bio, which again to me is kind of like a banner, for yourself, and also, the banner itself, the visual that is above your profile picture on X. But yeah, I think again, far too often people have things are a little bit too crowded. It's a little bit too confusing, and I think it's super important that things are well laid out when people are just getting to know you or network for the first time. People want to have a good idea of what you're about. And so if it's again confusing on the first pass, it could be something that makes a connection a little bit more difficult, or maybe it's something that potentially blocks future connections that you could have too. So appreciate you touching on that. I mean, to be honest, there's so many different places I could start in terms of even just like a basic intro, but I was fortunate enough to get connected to this wonderful world of crypto years and years ago. Probably the first seed that was really planted, funny enough, was my brother at the time, who was very connected to kind of the OG days of forums, and he was actually pretty big into kind of the scene of buying and reselling social media handles or gamer tags, Xbox, PlayStation. He did a number of those things. And funny enough, one of the forms of payment back in the day when he was on said forums was actually Bitcoin. And it's crazy to think that way back when, he was telling me about it. And at the time, Bitcoin was somewhere right around, I think, $400. And I had just such a tough time kind of like wrapping my head around the reality that, people would pay that much for like one unit of like a digital currency, of a digital coin. It was such like a hard concept to grasp at that time. And so that was kind of like the first seed that was really planted when it came to crypto. The second point was actually, funny enough, it would have been my, I guess, second year, or it would have been probably the fall, I believe, of 2017, actually 2017 between 2018, some of the years blend together. But it was when Cash App, believe it or not, had actually integrated Bitcoin, Ethereum, and I believe Litecoin was the third one. When they first introduced buying and selling of crypto on their platform, Cash App was it was a really popular like peer-to-peer money sending, like PayPal, Venmo. But that was a lot of what kids or different friends of mine used down in college. So naturally I was on it quite a bit. If it's like, hey, you pay for this, you pay for that, I'll pay you back. And so I saw that, and then that was really the first time I interacted with anything crypto related. And I thought I could kind of like day trade, swing trade, scalp. And I was so like emotionally attached into it. I was only buying like, 10, 15, 20, $30 at most, nothing crazy. And I was just like watching it fluctuate, go up and down. And that was really kind of like the first exposure that I got to the space, and seeing again just how emotionally driven it really was, even for myself. And I really wasn't that connected. And it's crazy to think I got completely disconnected from crypto after that. I really didn't do much with it on Cash App or any other platform out there. I just, I was very focused on my studies and some of the different jobs, part-time jobs I had when I was in school, was connected to some different clubs. Anyways, beyond the point, but I had that time there, finished school, graduated in fall of 2019. And it wasn't until basically the end of 2020 where I really started to get more involved into the crypto space. I'd actually gotten involved based on some recommendations from some friends of mine, excuse me, that I had met in a marketing group, and they had their own Discord server. They're like, hey, there's this new crypto project at the time. And this was when AVAX was really starting to take off back in the day. And so there was a lot of projects that were launching left and right over there.
Mm-hmm.
And funny enough, there was a project called Ring Financial, and it was based around kind of the whole quote unquote node meta, if anyone remembers that time. And so there was actually a quote unquote like sale or like a discount, which again should have been red flag number one. And there was an acquaintance, someone, we had mutual friends, and some of my mutual friends vouched for this person. And so we went on this, and, we were in this investment together. And, this was, again, way back when, and within, a couple of weeks, we had seen it basically, disappear within like 2 weeks, basically. And that was like the first thing I really got connected to. And it was, again, the first thing I got connected to was a huge lesson learned. Mm-hmm. And so that really what transpired what I've been doing over the last couple of years. There was another community that essentially had spun up to kind of right the wrongs of the previous community, who stole, again, like millions and millions of dollars. And it was really because, like, hey, we were all in kind of this learning lesson together, and we were, on the tail end of a rug where it really brought us together. And so it was over the course of, I believe kind of somewhere near like 4.5 months, give or take 4.5, 5 months of just showing up every single day and being in the Discord. This was before my X or Twitter days. And I was just there every day doing basically what a moderator would do. And it was after, again, several months of just showing up and being there that I landed my first like role and opportunity in this space, which was a paid position. And then it just scaled from there. Again, I could go through my whole journey, but that's at least kind of like the starting point, and kind of prime the pump there for you guys to get a little bit of context and understanding of what, my crypto journey looks like dating back, almost like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. And oh man, you mentioned the we kind of have a similar history, like similar in like timeline base. Like, yeah, my first look into Bitcoin, there's Silk Road back in those days, like 2012, 2013 days. There weren't many uses for Bitcoin, so, except for handles and Silk Road, it seems like. Then moving to 2017, yep, totally remember, like, the move up there, Cash App, as well as like those were like the Ripple days, when you saw like Ripple go from like, I don't know, I swear I remember seeing it at like 5 cents all the way to like $1.50 or $1.20. It was crazy days. um yeah, and then moving into 2021, when or 2020, when kind of like there was this resurgence in crypto. Started NFTs started coming around, so we're getting very popular, and the space just blowing up. So I guess I guess we didn't get to the crypto Twitter days, because like I just wanted to say, question number one, have you slept in the last like 5 days, sir?
Oh, that's good. I mean, people, and it's not necessarily the best thing. It's not necessarily like a badge of honor that I wear, but there has certainly been the roaming kind of question of, hey, did you sleep, or do you get sleep, or when do you sleep? And that's kind of the again, kind of the revolving question as of late. I feel like if I had, and I'm a big Chipotle fan too. I know not everyone may be, but yeah, if I got a Chipotle meal for every time someone said that, I'd be looking pretty good. I'd have leftovers. I'd had plenty of meals to vouch and account for over quite some time. But again, if I had to pick, I would definitely take a local authentic Mexican place any day, any time of the week, just to put a little asterisk on that there. But yeah, I do my best to really interact and engage with all time zones And again, I think it's definitely one of those things where it's not an easy thing to do. It definitely requires a passion and just a
Mm-hmm.
drive again to be a little crazy, to be honest. But again, it's one of the more probably fruitful decisions and commitments I've made over the last, I'd say probably pretty consistently over the last like year or so, probably the last like 13, 14 months. I really have tried to do my best again to be there for all time zones, so as people from, Europe or maybe like South America, a lot of people are like 6 or 7 or 8 hours ahead. And then of course there's, some friends in Australia, New Zealand who, I mean, again, they could be anywhere from like 14 to 16 hours ahead too. I know there's,
Yeah.
different coasts and different time zones. And so again, I do my best kind of just to hit all of them, of course, try and get kind of the US time zones as well, whether it's West Coast, East Coast, or even, man, I'm blanking on the other time zone too. Oh gosh, I know one of the time zones up in Canada, I think they're 2.5 hours ahead of me, hour and a half of East Coast. So again, trying to do what I can just to hit all those time zones. And of course, certain days, certain weeks, it's just not going to be possible. But I do my best to be as active as I can, at least at some point throughout each and every one of those times.
Yeah, dude. Like literally, like from the moment, like and just for a little context for our friends, which in Decentraland has grown to 22 people, and we have a few on the streaming platforms. From the moment that Thigh Revolution, who was the our mutual friend, previous guest of Beyond the NFT, since he hit me up, was like, hey, yo, I think Peanut is great. I think he would be a great guest for Beyond the NFT. From that moment that I hit the follow button, I've noticed you on like a X space, on like every and on all hours. Like doesn't matter when. I could be like getting ready to go to sleep at like 3 a.m. and I see you, I'm speaking out of space. I'm like, yo, Peanut's crazy. Let's go. That's like the energy that's needed.
100%, 100% it is. It's one of those things I tell people where it's kind of like three parts. I think for anyone who is a aspiring to be at a higher level,
Mhm.
or B, those that have already gotten to a certain level. And even them too, there's still a lot of people that have maybe quote unquote made it to a certain level, but they're still striving for more. In one part, again, you have to have a little bit, I tell people, of almost kind of like psychotic, kind of like crazy behavior to be here in the space. And then there's also the reality of being a delusional optimist in a
Yep.
sense. And there's kind of a fine line to it too, when it's like, hey, is this a lost cause? Or hey,
Mhm.
there's still a potential here, but it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of consistency over a longer period of time to really see kind of like the fruits of your labor. And then of course you got to have a whole lot of passion. So I've noticed it's very much three parts, and of course there could be different things we talk about or focus on, but to me those are like three fundamental non-negotiable things that I think people have to have.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. You know that like it's like kind of one of my favorite I'm thinking of like Conor McGregor. He has like this interview where he says like in a way like you got to be a little gone to it, like while everyone else is like enjoying the luxuries of life, whatever it may be, like he's like going through a sequence or like just rolling on the mat, like it's like that same mentality, like bringing it into Web3. And if if it's not too much of like of a personal question, like what is your why? Like um why do you push so hard? What inspires you to be this this energetic, charismatic, supportive leader in Web3?
I love the question, and for me, it's more about my why in life, and it just happens to be something that I really try and focus on here in Web3 in this crypto space too. Again, it's kind of a three-part
Hmm.
why for me. Part of it is, man, this particular space of crypto and Web3, it's a very dark world, and just in general, it's a
Yes.
very dark world. There's lots of craziness, there's lots of just evil going on left and right.
Yes.
So most importantly, just to be a light in this world, and that can take form in a number of different ways, through the way that I talk, through the way I treat people, through the way that I carry myself, the way that I act, things that I do partake in, things that I don't partake in. There's a number of things, but most importantly, one, to be a light. Two, there's a lot of people doing really like bold and like they have lofty ideas, they have lofty dreams, and there's some cool stuff that people are doing that is actually pushing, as I say, like the needle forward.
Yep.
So it's to support other people on their dreams and the path that they're currently on. And again, just doing what I can to either be a soundboard or to be there on posts and engaging or spaces or live streams or attending different in-person events too. I love traveling to different events. I think that's a great way just to show your support. Like, hey, I made time to travel to X place. I made time to be here at this event versus other events because you're a priority. I'm going to spend time capturing content. I'm going to spend time maybe buying said stuff and contributing towards the overall success of the event. A number of different things. So again, to support people on their dreams and their paths. And then three, to challenge people to be their best self. I think there's a time and place where, accountability, constructive criticism is integral, and it's so important to have. And so there's times maybe where people aren't living up to that like standard that they're very capable of. They're almost like selling themselves short, or they're just making certain choices and decisions that really don't like match who they are, who they can be. And so sometimes it's just like, hey, like, what are you doing? Like, is this really like what you're going after? Like, and again, it comes from like a place of like love or tough love of like, hey, like this, where I know you can be and where you're at doesn't match up. There's a gap. Like, what can we do to fix that gap? And so for me, that's really my why. Again, to be a light in a dark world, to, support people with their dreams and passions, and to challenge people to be their best self.
Oh my God, what an amazing answer. And that's what it's all about, my friend. That's what it's all about. And so kind of going back to that, like, light in a dark world um kind of reference, like, how do you stay so positive within this dark world? Like, because there's those days that maybe some days are tougher than others, and that's true for all of us. And how do you stay positive?
Yeah, great question. So I think part of it for me, again, really, it really goes back to the quality of people that are around me. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
one of the more important things I think for me too. And I'll be honest, like, I still have my, my downfalls, my mistakes, my shortcomings, but for me at least, being someone of faith, like, having a personal relationship with God. And
Mm-hmm.
again, it's always something I'm very mindful of. It's never, something I'm trying to, shove down people's throats, but
Mm-hmm.
it goes back into just how I try to live my life. And again, for me, like, that's always been that's been my North Star, like, has always been, at the core of my life. Again, it's just having a personal
Mm-hmm.
relationship with God. And, again, that's, a source of my, that's the main source of
Strength.
my light and my joy and kindness. And, the way that I try and treat people. Again, for me, it's been, one of those things where, again, people like ask that question of like, how do you have so much joy? How do you have, and I think that just kind of like opens up the door to some fruitful conversations. Again, never something of like forceful nature, but sharing like, hey, like, this is how I was raised, like this is what I was taught, like this is what I, believe in, like can share firsthand experiences of really cool things happening that were completely out of my control and doing, but they happened. And it's like believe in divine timing and divine intervention too, with certain people coming into my life at certain points. And again, that's a big reason why I'm able to have the joy and the light that and the passion that I do, for being here. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's making sure, or doing the best I can to make sure that people are seen, they feel seen, and they feel heard. And if there's some sort of way that I can, add some sort of like spark or some sort of joy into their life just from, the simple things that a lot of us do with others on a daily basis, then I want to like step out and I want to make time to do those things, because I know they really do have a deep impact on people. Again, we're humans. There's fundamental, there's psychological things that we all crave and desire, even if it happens or takes shape in different scenarios or different environments. It's all something that we crave. Again, whether we're in some sort of biker gang or mafia group or a sports team, or we're in a community here in Web3, whatever it is, there's that desire to be connected and to be a part of something that's bigger than ourselves. And so again, I do my best to bring that joy, that light, that energy to everyone that I meet, whether it's on a live stream, whether it's on a space, whether it's in a group chat, whether it's in the DMs, whether it's on a phone call, whether it's in person. I always just try to be the same peanut. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to conform to my environment. I'll kind of end it here on this side. I learned this back in college. It's rather than being a, as some people have said, like a thermometer, where you're a reflection of the environment, or better yet, like it comes down to like, I'm not going to conform. I'm not going to let other people change my temperature. Like I'm going to be the thermostat. Like I'm going to set kind of the temperature of the room, and I'm going to do whatever I can to bring that energy and to bring that love into whatever conversation or environment I'm stepping into.
Yeah, wow. That is an incredible answer too. And that answer, I do understand. It's like a multifaceted question where like there are many levels to that onion, many layers to that onion, and you managed to break it down just very, very, very well for us tonight. Um, and it's very true. It's like in a space where like everything's digital, trust is all we really have, and being as authentic as possible, like in every room that you step into, is one of these factors that does really come into play whenever meeting an individual, or just even bonding with those around you, the community that you keep around you. And of course, like bringing it back to God, like man, when he comes into play, whatever you may be going through, it becomes a lot easier to cope with it, and push through. um so yeah, thank you for the answer. So moving into kind of some of the projects that you're involved with, I thought we start off with long lost NFT. Just like gonna bring it up here on the screen real quick. I am gonna bring up their X account. And what could you tell us about long lost NFTs? How'd you get involved with it? And currently, like what does your day-to-day look like within your role? And I know that was like three questions, so feel free to ask me what they were.
No, all good. And I do the same thing too with people. I kind of layer questions in, and sometimes you're like, "Oh my gosh, that's a lot to get back to." But I definitely can relate. So I'll definitely do my best to go, to kind of go through each question.
Mhm.
First part. So Long Lost was launched back in the first week of February of 2022. So definitely during the I guess you could say kind of the boom, kind of the craze of NFTs. And funny enough, I wasn't even involved in NFTs back then. I was, believe it or not, I was once kind of a doubter. I was a skeptic in the NFT space, which again is funny to me. But yeah, it was one of those things I had a hard time even justifying or wrapping my mind around, buying a $30 or $40 NFT. And I think really the first collection I was looking at was I think it was the Chillin' Chameleons. It was a chameleon project back in the day. I'm not sure if anyone was connected to that. Maybe it rings some bells. But that was really the first thing that I kind of seen. I was just kind of like looking at the art. I'm like, I'm not sure if I really understand NFTs yet, or like why somebody would want to buy them. But anyways, so back in the day, Long Lost was launched by 5 Australian founders. I'm thankful that we still have one of the original founders, or one of the founding fathers, as we say, that's still with us. Jeff, the developer, so the brains behind all the technical, the contract, and all the like really the tech, the blockchain
Mhm.
related aspects of the community here. And so it wasn't until actually 2023, where again on their 1 year anniversary was when I really got connected, and hopefully you guys can still hear me. Got
Yep.
connected to Long Lost. And it was actually because of a different community that I had gotten connected to, again thanks to some of my friends I'm still connected to, some of my longer friends here in the Web3 space, General Weeks and Gil Party of Seven. That's their handles on Discord and X here now. And it was because of them that they told me about Uncanny, which again still very very much connected to, love it, love her, will forever hold a special place in my heart. And I still think there's something we could turn around and do something with Uncanny. But that was really the bridge to Long Lost, was getting as connected and integrated into Uncanny as I was. And so again, it was on that 1 year anniversary mark. There was actually a space going on between Uncanny and Long Lost on a Friday night. Was driving home, and I just vividly remember, I'm like, man, if there's such a strong connection here as there is, like it seems like kind of a no-brainer. Like I should buy some Losties. And so I come to find out pretty quickly that there was this thing called Multi-Gang, which is one Lostie from each of the 4 factions that we have in the collection. We have ghosts, we have skellies or skeletons, we have zombies, and then we have ghouls. And so I was like, okay, sweet. Let me buy one from each faction. I'm going to get Multi-Gang right away off the bat. Sounded pretty cool. And so funny enough, I ended up botching it. I only ended up getting 2 factions somehow. Not sure how. I just was probably in such euphoric state. I'm like, oh my gosh, a new NFT collection I can buy. I'm just going to dive in. And so I ended up buying 6 that first night. And that really kind of set the tone, for my time in the community, as I was, collecting NFTs. I was, raiding super hard on the timeline. I was in spaces. I was just everywhere.
Mhm.
And I was definitely a super fan for Long Lost. And I was a big advocate pretty much from the jump. And so it was over the course of really, again, February, March, April, that ultimately led me to getting asked to join the team in May.
Mhm.
Again, was fortunate enough to leave a pretty memorable impression on the team. Had gotten reached out to by Scott Sheridan, who oversees Long Lost and is the right hand to Andrew Lisserman. They run and oversee Riveting Entertainment, and music label. And so it was because of Scott getting into the fold from some of the existing team members at Long Lost before my time. They had bridged the gap there between Long Lost and Scott over at Riveting. Scott, again, now oversees Long Lost, still heavily involved at Riveting. And it was because of that kind of reach out, that connection, a couple of phone calls that we had that really got everything primed. And it really kind of gave me that jolt of like, oh my gosh, like Scott's reaching out to me. And so sure enough, like jumped into the fold, started hosting spaces, our Monday out to lunch space, and started helping out with other spaces as you know, seen fit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really like a progressive kind of build up of getting more involved with the Losties and just doing whatever I could to, you know, spread the good word, to jump into spaces, to show that support, to onboard. I don't know. I mean, at this point, I've lost track. Maybe one of these days I should tally up how many people I've onboarded. It's probably, I don't know, it's probably somewhere north of 60 or 65 people at least, I bet, if not more. 60 to 65 different people over the years. If again, could be higher, who knows? But a lot of people I've done kind of like meticulously like hand picking and sending, you know, losties to them over the months, over the years. But really, again, it's a community. It's a group, as some people say, a lifestyle group that really values in-person meetups. That has really rallied around our music focused. That have really been a huge support and have appreciated our focus on our beer line, Losties Brew.
Oh.
And of course, we've been able to do some cool things with streetwear, with clothing. You know, as we all know, you know, clothing is certainly it's something that a lot of people have done, but I don't think many people have done successfully or at scale. You know, it hasn't necessarily seen, you know, widespread or larger proliferation outside of the space, which again I think is really like the end goal. You know, if you're going to start something, to have, you know, people outside of the space hopefully want to wear it, and, you know, kind of spreading organically, naturally through, you know, just life outside of crypto, or again beyond just people within the community. But that really again kind of ties back to like what our core pillars are. You know, membership, the people, the community, the family, marketing. I mean, again, if you don't have a marketing presence, you're not going to be able to get anywhere. Of course, you know, for us, merchandise, so that kind of falls into the physical items, the clothing, the beer, and then music media. You know, the catalog that we've been able to build now to over 65 plus songs, and
Wow.
we're going to continue to grow that out. You know, just finding unique ways that we can, you know, make this a profitable venture. You know,
Mm-hmm.
something that can actually scale, and something that can be here for years and years to come. So, little snippet, and if there's maybe a different kind of avenue or path that you'd like for me to go down, I can. And then I
Mm-hmm.
just remembered, actually, you had asked like, hey, what's my day to day?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of my day to day is, again, you know, hosting spaces throughout the week, jumping into other spaces. To me, it's not really something that has to be told. It's just something I naturally do. I try to lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because again, if I'm gonna ask someone else to do it, well, I should be able to do it too. And so again, hosting spaces, jumping into other community spaces to support. You know, a lot of it is being active in our group chat, doing what I can to stay active on Discord too. And I mean, most importantly, doing what I can to set up meetings, phone calls, to collaborate, to actually do stuff that's of substance beyond just. And again, it's probably been one of the weakest areas that we've had, and that's something I am focusing on diligently, is saying, hey, okay, we've been able to do some cool things, and we've been able to give back and take care of people, and, you know, give different opportunities to people to really shine and grow, and different skill sets and different talents that they have. But to actually be able to do something beyond like a whitelist collab or a space, and say, hey, we got this physical product or a tool or a service we want to combine efforts on, like, let's do it. Again, I don't necessarily feel like there's a large percentage or number of people that are actively doing it, or if they are doing it, it really hasn't, as I like to say, like, pushed the needle much.
Yeah.
So that's really where I'm wanting to focus more time and energy onto that. And some of it can be very time intensive, you know, getting on
Yes.
30, 45, 60-minute phone calls and meetings with people, and, you know, doing what you can to maybe stack a couple in a day or do a handful over the course of a week, and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, continue kind of that cadence and rhythm too. It's super important. So that's really kind of like the day to day. I mean, at the end of the day, it's being engaged and being active, paying attention, listening to what people are saying, and seeing where it is that you can provide value to other people. I mean, at the core, that's really what it looks like. Again, if you branch out, you can get very granular and very specific about different tasks and different functions, but at the core, that's really what it comes down to for me.
Yep. And I mean, just by the explanation of like, you explaining your day to day and kind of saying, you know, some of the things that you do, it's more of like a lead by example kind of thing. And I truly respect that because, you know, it is noticeable when someone within a team is like executing more than their job role like entails for them. And and I always like, love to give love to those individuals. And I'm looking at the long lost NFTs Instagram, and I can definitely see like the heavy like music and fashion representation in here. You mentioned like culture is one of the big things for long lost, and I kind of like I really like the kind of like the visual of the page. Like you jump in and you see all these different artists and they're all highlighted. And what I don't know why, but I see a lot of similarities. I don't know if it's like just the vibe, the artwork, but I believe it's someone that you know as well. I get a lot of let me Kaboom boxes. I get like the Kaboom box vibe with Dre the Noid. I believe you may be familiar. You may know Dre the Noid. Uh, He is.
Oh yeah, very very familiar with Dre.
Yep, yep. He is actually one of our previous guests here on Beyond the NFT. Probably around maybe like 8 months ago or so. Great individual, and I really enjoyed our chat. But yeah, I kind of get like I'm getting the same energy, and it's like such a beautiful energy, and something that's very needed in the space. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess just like as a small shout out to Dre. I do know that Dre is annoyed. Like, is that how you know him?
Correct. Correct. Yeah, I met him through some mutual friends, and then things really started to pick up as they were hosting spaces on the weekend, and I'm hoping we can get back to that here soon because I've really really enjoyed those conversations, and I would help out the last couple of ones that we've done over the last, I think probably over the last 2 months, or dating back over yeah, within the last 2 months. There's been spaces. It's been a little tough because he's very big into the music scene in
Mm-hmm.
Coachella. So he took a couple weekends for that, the 2 weekends, and then he's had some family stuff the last couple of weekends. So it's been a little choppy with the weekend spaces that the Noids typically were doing, or at least what I was accustomed to
Mm-hmm.
during the course of this calendar year. But yeah, that's ultimately how I got connected to him, was through spaces.
Yep.
And then I really enjoyed, what he's been doing with the Noids, the 2D, the newer version of the Humanoids, the OG project from 21.
Okay.
And so that kind of what transpired to, me wanting to, align a little bit closer to Dre and Left Click By, who are, steering the ship with Left Click Labs. And you have a couple of the different IPs that are underneath that umbrella too. So that's
Yeah.
where the affiliate badge they have on X comes from. And that's also partially why I have the honorary Noid that I have as my PFP on X right now too. A little bit
Mm-hmm.
different from what you see on Discord here. This is just the OG, the natural form Losty that I bought a little over 3 years ago. That's been my PFP
Mm-hmm.
ever since.
With
So
Ted.
Yes, with Ted hanging out, they added some sort of quest or some sort of feature here on Discord, and I just love it, so I keep it on.
I love him. I love him. Yep. I on screen I do have your honorary annoyed, and thank you for like the little context, because like just jumping into Dre's page, I'm seeing founder of the humanoids, and I'm like, is he has he been cooking? And I have not been paying attention. Like I'm definitely a Kaboom box holder. I made sure after that episode to like get my very own, because he he's doing great work with it, and that catalog has some incredible features, so definitely had to get access to that catalog. And maybe this is a question you haven't asked him yet, but if you are a Kaboom box holder, he's told me in the past that we do have rights to use that music for our content, for any content we make. So I mean, that's value right there within a project. Eh, So
100%.
yep. So, in a way, you almost transitioned into the next thing I wanted to transition to. So, let's dive right in. You mentioned Left Click Labs. What is Left Click Labs, and kind of like what do you do? Um, or yeah, what do you do with the project? What is your role? Or I see actually ambassador.
Yeah, that's kind of the probably the best way to kind of, I guess, phrase it or to word it or put a label on it if there's a label to be put. I mean, you could say representative, whatever I guess kind of makes sense to, each and every person, but it's one of those things where again I wanted to, align a little bit closer with Dre and with Left Click. Again, Left Click by great guy. I haven't gotten to necessarily connect as much with him on Spaces as I have Dre, but I've been in contact with him, and love the creativity, the artistic abilities that he has to bring all these IPs to life. And so there's a handful of different IPs. If you guys are on, which again I'm not tapped into the live stream right now, I just got my one phone device I'm here on Discord with, but if you go on X, you can see Left Click Labs, and there's a couple of the different IPs. Again, you got the Noids that are underneath that.
Hmm.
You have the Mega Honey Badgers. You have the Boomy collection as well, and then you also have. Just trying to think of the other. You also have the Smiths, I believe is how you pronounce it. But you can see it. All of them should be right there on
Yep.
the X page there, and so there's a handful of different IPs, and again they're working to kind of build out. Well, first off, they're very focused right now, in particular with the Noid collection, to have that be on the other side actually. So that's a big undertaking that they're currently focused on right now, and they actually they contracted a team to finish the avatars for the other side, and they actually are doing an avatar for each unique asset in the collection. So a big undertaking, and I believe only a handful of collections have every single asset represented in the other side. But they're really trying to again bring all these IPs together, and again just continue to they got some physical toys that they're going to be coming out with soon that they posted about, the video content, the in-house production of videos and content that they're able to bring to life is second to none. Dre and Left Click, they've built some other apps and platforms, some released, I know some that are in the works. And so it's all about, again, using tech, IP, and bring something of value ultimately to the community, to this Web3 space. And of course, as a lot of us are kind of on the hunt and after, is to have, proliferation outside of this digital landscape of kind of this bubble of crypto people, and, bring it to the everyday person who's maybe investing into, stocks or going more down like the traditional route of investing. and just giving them an exposure into what it is that we're, super passionate about and super dedicated to. So that's kind of like a very high, like overview, high level
Hmm.
kind of outlook on what's happening with Left Click Labs. But like I said, really cool again, just to see again the dedication, the passion and love that they have for again bringing all these wonderful things together as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, very much of a larger picture and story that's going to continue to evolve for months and years to come. It's not something that is just, hey, we're going to mint this and okay, cool, collect. And no, there's going to be a number of layers and levels to this again with, products and tools and services and, having something that people can really sink their teeth into.
Yes, exactly. And let's see, I just saw a comment. Oh, it's Mary Elf, all the way from Spain. Here we are, these fans from Spain supporting me. Sinful. Aw, love you, Mary Elf. And so I through your explanation of Left Click Labs, I one thing really stood out to me, and I'm just in a way going to throw it up there into the ether if something comes from it, if something doesn't, and like we'll see. Since we do have a representative here on Beyond the NFT for Left Click Labs. Have there been any considerations into like using Left Click Labs to integrate projects into Decentraland? The reason why I ask is because Decentraland has this thing called linked wearables, which in Decentraland everything we wear, our clothing, they're all NFTs on the Polygon network. So linked wearables are wearables that are linked to specific NFT projects. So if you looked on Decentraland earlier, the balaclava that I'm wearing is actually a kid called Beast balaclava, and we brought that in through through the linked wearables program, where it's like everyone that holds a kid called Beast will automatically have this wearable that represents that project in their wallet if they log in from that wallet. Um, so I mean, like kind of from when you mentioned it's like you trying to get the noise or focusing on getting the nodes into other side. Perhaps maybe even Decentraland could be an avenue to look towards to provide value towards these communities that you work with.
There, to my knowledge, there hasn't, again, at least with the people that I am currently like tapped in with, I haven't heard necessarily a lot of chatter around Decentraland anymore. Not to say that that can't change or evolve in the future, but I know there's been a huge shift and focus even beyond, let's say, like Nifty Island, which again I know has served great for a lot of communities and ecosystems. A lot of people,
Correct.
well, I should say there's at least a core group of people that are very passionate about it still, and it certainly has had a huge reach on a number of demographics and people in the space. There's no disputing that. But again, there's been a huge shift even for, let's say, like Ethereum projects. Again, so not even ape chain based, but a lot of Ethereum projects in particular that I know that have been, like slowly kind of like making their way to get integrated, to get, avatars, 3D avatars rigged and uploaded into the game over on the other side. And so again, that's at least just what I'm hearing. Not saying that there's not people out there who do want to come to different platforms and check out different worlds like Decentraland, but again, at least from where I'm kind of positioned and the conversations, the chatter I'm hearing, it's again kind of more focused on again shifting towards other side. If not, there's some people that again some communities still tapped in on Nifty, but again, for all we know, things could very easily shift. Like if there's a huge kind of revival or refocus on bringing new things to, I mean, again, things can change at the flip of a switch. They really can. If there's again some sort of campaign, there's some sort of initiative, there's someone new that joins some sort of team or organization, I mean, we've seen firsthand how even a simple announcement, one announcement can completely change, the trajectory and kind of the pace that it can really like resuscitate and bring different things back to life. Again, not saying that, that's the case necessarily here, but I'm just saying, things can go to new levels and in new all times highs. So again, at least from my perspective, that's kind of what I'm hearing. But again, as much as I love to be tapped into different ecosystems and different pockets of the space, there's still loads of stuff that I'm not, as tapped into as I'd like to be.
Yep, yep. Yeah, and I mean, like I mentioned, it was like just something to like kind of throw up into the ether. Who knows, like maybe one day you'll be in a call and like the team's like, we need to focus on the next thing. What are some avenues? And then maybe it's in the back of your mind, like how about trying this? You never know. Yeah, reason why I mentioned it is because getting these linked wearables into Decentraland used to be like this near impossible undertaking where like the community itself needed to have a server, they needed to provide all the assets and have all this and all that, and yeah, do backflips and stuff. But since it's become like a way easier process, so like like I said, if anyone is ever interested, you could always link that individual with myself, and I can definitely link them to the marketing director at Decentraland, and things will get moving on that end as well. At least, I mean. So, so enough of the smart wearable talk, even though, or I mean, linked wearable talk, even though it is a cool conversation. Ziggy on bass. What is that project all about?
Yeah, so Ziggy on base, a meme coin, and not your traditional meme coin, based over on base, and it's been around for about 15 months, a little over 15 months now, give or take. So that would have been February of 2024 is when it first, actually, sorry, holy cow, February of 2025, excuse me, I'm getting some of these dates and some of these years mixed up. My apologies. But it's been around again for at least a decent amount of time. Again, relative to where the current market is for a lot of coins or meme coins in general, and it's based around again Ziggy the blue iguana, once a again very much endangered species. At one point, there was a population, I believe, somewhere of around 20 to 25 left in existence, and that was a big part of really the foundation for Ziggy back then with the core team, that's still around. Is they had a focus to bring more awareness to the blue, to the blue iguana, excuse me, and to also find an organization. It happened to be down based in the Cayman Islands, and they had made a sizable donation to again help facilitate the day-to-day services of caretaking, and again kind of bringing that population, bringing that species back to life, which again, if the numbers are accurate, I believe it's the population of said blue iguanas is north of 1,000 or even north of 1,200. I got to look at some of the up-to-date metrics, but there's been a huge revival and focus of different organizations, different people across the world, and we were able just to kind of play the team was able to have play a part in contributing towards kind of the resurgence of that species. And so that was like the backbone, kind of the premise of, Ziggy, but very much a laid back kind of, tropical surfer type of vibe, kind of energy that you'll see with a lot of the posts, a lot of the things that you'll see on the timeline between, the videos and the music and the still images. There's always been a great energy. There's always been a great culture when it comes to Ziggy. And again, it's one of those things that really stuck out to me as I was, talking to the team more, and as they extended the invite to bring me on to the team, was the fact that they had been around for a longer period of time, and had really seen, some pretty volatile swings on the chart. And there's been, a number of different things that have unfolded, over the several months now to where, I could tell that there was really passion, that there was a desire to see this thing grow. And it wasn't something that this team was just gonna quit on. And so there's a strong belief and conviction across the board from the team in this. And, it's again something that they wanted to, explore and find some new ways to kind of bolster and scale this to the next level. And again, they have the confidence and trust in me, to play a key part. And again, joining forces with them and taking this to new levels, new heights, and, show that, hey, you know what, there is such a thing as, teams that mean well, and that there's still opportunities and there's a possibility to thrive and succeed, even if it is months and months and months later. Again, can't necessarily be the case for every coin. I know a lot of situations where you have to hit it hard, you have to hit it fast from the start, and there's really not second chances, so to speak. You only really get one good shot at a launch, and for it to take off, hopefully in the right way with the right people getting involved early on. And so that's a little bit about Ziggy. There's an effort, I know, to get some new community initiatives underway, and to we're working on some, again, physical products, just different things for people to buy, enjoy, represent the community, be an extension of Ziggy, wherever it is that they may be in the world. And again, most importantly, just have a fun time. It's one of those things where a lot of things get very serious. And not to say that, we aren't serious or that we aren't professional, because this team is, but it's also about, like I said, having fun, enjoying yourself, enjoying being in the space. Because if you're not enjoying yourself at all or having fun, it's probably something you need to kind of reflect it, if I'm being honest. So
Yeah.
I'll kind of end it there. But again, my biggest thing was just seeing a team that was dedicated, persistent, loyal to the mission and the purpose. And again, I wanted to join forces with a new group that really has been able to, like I said, stand the test of time.
Yeah, and I like that what you just mentioned. Like if you're in the space and you're not having fun, you need to reevaluate a couple things and refine that passion, that drive within you, because all this is supposed to be fun. And okay, so I had a follow-up question, like, but I see the answer right here. This is specifically for blue iguanas. I was starting to feel bad for a second there because I live in Florida, and we have iguanas here, and they're more like evasive, like invasive, like they're not supposed to be here, and they're messing up the ecosystem. So like people don't like them too much. Um, but okay, this is specifically for the blue iguana. Ooh, that was close. But but okay, but yeah, thank you for telling us a little bit about Ziggy, and like just I'm over here like definitely taking notes, and perhaps some of these founders or representatives from these projects maybe guests on Beyond the NFT here in the future. I always like taking recommendations, meeting new people, so that I'm always looking. Let's moving down the list a little bit, like you host a lot of spaces on X. What are some of your goals when you create a space, and do you have any favorite moments?
Yeah, my apologies. I got slightly distracted here. Could you
Yes, sir.
repeat the first part of the question?
Like, what are some of your goals whenever you open up a space? Um,
Yeah. Yeah, so for me, I host a weekly space, and I'm, as you said too earlier, I'm connected to a number of different people, and I partake in a number of spaces throughout the course of a week. But the one space that I've been hosting now for at least a little bit of time, the Peanut Gallery that happens every single Thursday, 6 p.m. EST. My biggest focus, and it hasn't always been this way. Actually, for a majority of the journey, it wasn't as focused and structured as I've had it, I would say, over the last probably 3 to 4 months, give or take. And it's been, I would say, really like this year, probably like the 2026 calendar year, because I know even, towards the end of last year, it really hadn't picked up a ton of traction. It'd been plateauing for a while, but I was still consistent. I was still faithful with it. And it's really been because of just, again, that persistence, that resilience to keep with it. And again, this kind of ties into the question of like, what's the purpose? Like, what's the focus? Like, what do I want to achieve when I open up a space is, to one, have a place where if you can tune in for 5 minutes, or you can tune in for the entirety of the space. Like this last week, it went like 6.5 hours. Typically doesn't go that long. Usually it's somewhere between like 3 and 4 hours, give or take. But there were just a lot of great people that came up and wanted to talk. So I'm very observant of just reading the room and reading kind of the energy of where the conversation is going. And if I still believe that there's life and there's kind of fuel to it, we'll keep going. We'll keep running. I don't want to block the conversation or like block a opportunity or a blessing from someone just because I'm like, time and place. Sometimes you do have to end things, but if there's flexibility, if there's kind of an allowance for things to kind of flourish and to kind of like, catch some legs and run, then, I want to make sure that it's of value for people again. So whether it's 5 minutes, 5 hours, that there's something of value for people to take away from, from choosing to tap into the space. I think the other thing too is you have to have focus, you have to have clarity on what it is that you're talking about. And so for me, I'm, actively thinking throughout the week. It's less just like an hour or two of like prep time or a couple hour prep time right before the space. It's like an everyday thing for me where I'm thinking, okay, we had this conversation this week. Okay, we're about to have a conversation for this week. I kind of plan about a week ahead, give or take. I try not to plan out too far, so things still feel very relevant to what's happening within this kind of ecosystem, this world that we're living in. And so for me, again, just having focus and having clarity on the topic and being knowledgeable, having personal stories around said topic is super important to me, again, to where, hey, what am I looking to achieve? I'm looking to achieve and show that there's
Oh, did we lose you?
1, 2, 3.
Oh, there you are. There you are. Okay. Yeah, for a second we lost you there.
Sorry, I'm doing my best. I was even sitting still here for a second, and maybe something happened with my connection. Let me go back just a little bit. So, to have a topic, to have focus, to have clarity, to present, and for people to feel like there is conviction and confidence, and there's knowledge on said topic. I mean, that's super important for me to put out there. And that's what I want people to feel as I'm hosting those spaces too, versus just talking out of my rear end. It's like, hey, there's people can tell that there's passion, that there's some things I've gone through as to like why I'm talking about this particular topic. And my biggest thing is I really, again, kind of like purpose or focus when I open up a space, really it's to be a spark. Again, I'm not trying to be, the center of attention or talk a lot. I do my best to interject when I can, but I think the biggest kind of goal of being a space host, or as I say, like, and so many people say space host. So I was like, I can't do space host in my bio, but space architect, I don't see really anyone do that. And I think it's very true with how I like to run the Peanut Gallery, how I like to run other spaces where It's very much like a methodical and almost kind of like dealing with like Jenga or like putting a puzzle together. It's being able to again kind of be a spark and kind of start the conversation, and then from there it's letting the space roll forward and evolve and kind of take shape where it needs to. And then that sometimes means like, hey, kind of like lobbing up the conversation or a question to the next person, where someone maybe left off on a great point, and in the back of my head I'm thinking, okay, I'm processing all this in live time. This is great, I love it. Let me kind of like just lob this up to the next person so they can crush it. And then I really try and connect the conversation together as much as I can with like respecting the order of which people come up on stage. Again, when people come up and they're dedicating time, I'm just being mindful of respecting people's time, getting to people as quickly as I can without rushing people, and just allowing people to feel seen and heard. That's really what it comes back to for me. So again, yeah, that's a little bit of again, like what I'm looking to achieve and what I'm looking to do when I open up a space. That's really what it comes back to. And there's some different like nuances and some different things I could probably get into, but at the core of what it is I'm really focused on, it revolves around those things.
Nice. Yeah. So your most recent peanut gallery that took place on Thursday, May 21st. Let's take a look here. See, 6 hours and 9 minutes, and you had 2,000 people tune in. So I think people are liking what you're saying, my friend. And I see that the topic is what breaks trust and credibility, which in a way it's we kind of super lightly mentioned earlier. I don't know if it was like earlier in the conversation here, live conversation, or if it was backstage before the show. But we kind of like said like this is a space where trust is everything. So pertaining to this topic, what breaks trust and credibility? What are some of the biggest takeaways that you got from that conversation?
For me, what I saw was, and man, I mean, when you have a 6.5 hour space,
I
there's
know.
a lot of ground that was covered. And I think the biggest thing that came back to is I'll say this, it's kind of twofold in a way of we touched on again what breaks it, but there was also a big part of the conversation too of, hey, what builds or what adds to trust and credibility. And in some ways, again, it's the deviating from said things that build it, obviously, again, that are going to be direct a direct result or byproduct to breaking it. But I guess I'll kind of start with like the first side of it, which again, like what builds or what adds to trust and credibility. Well, consistency, between not only what you say but what you do. It's also the way of I guess the choices you make of who you're going to surround yourself with, who you're going to endorse and kind of vouch for. It's I guess the way you carry yourself, the way you talk to others, the way you treat people, the way that maybe you can show up financially. And if not financially, maybe it's the way that you show up with your time, your resources, other resources beyond your capital.
Yep. Yeah.
And
oh, go ahead. Sorry,
yeah,
I
sorry,
saw you mute.
no, just had a quick cough there. You guys don't need to hear my coughs and my sneezes. But so that's one side of it. And then again, on the other side, it's like, okay, well, if you're putting your name on things over and over again that aren't panning out to be what people claim they would be, I mean, that's another thing. If it's a rug, a quick rug, slow rug, and again, I think even some of the definitions or the use cases of people saying that, I think have veered away from what they really are. But again, that's another conversation for another
Yeah.
day. But again, not doing what you say would do, having inconsistency in, messaging and even like what you're posting about. And I mean, it's the simple things that, you know, add to your social credit score in just a negative way that again really break it and trust it again. So from the things that you're endorsing, from the way that you treat people, again, just the things that you talk about, the way you carry yourself, like those were kind of the core topics and focuses on both sides. But again, especially when it comes to like what breaks it, it was definitely those things of, again, just how you treat people, how your words or how your actions maybe match up against your words.
Mhm.
If there's things that don't match up or line up, you claim one thing in public, you do another, behind the scenes, or you say one thing in spaces and you do another on the blockchain. Again, like those things to me like break trust and credibility big time.
Mhm. Yep.
So yeah, I kind of wanted to share just on both sides too, because again, that's where the conversation ended up going. It wasn't just like, hey, what breaks it? Like there are also people that wanted to touch on like, hey, what actually like adds to it then, or
Mhm.
what are things that we could all be doing that help kind of foster and raise up connections and friendships that
Mhm.
we're fortunate enough to have here in the space too.
Yeah, yeah. So, kind of as you were sharing, kind of like I guess maybe a new layer to the question or to like the topic kind of popped up in my head. Maybe it's something that you could share with the community and use as a future conversation, which is kind of like a tougher one, but it would be like, how does one rebuild trust in Web3? Because there are those individuals who have like, you know, made mistakes, like good people that have made genuine mistakes. I wonder what would be like what a conversation like that may spark. And if you do host it sometime, let me know. I'll pull up.
Heck yeah, definitely will. I think that could be a great continuation of the conversations for sure. And again, it's one of those things where I try to be methodical. And that kind of again goes to like the architect part of like Spaces Architect
Hmm.
is stacking some of these topics and conversations. So it's almost like a continuation. And it's not so much of just like topic, topic, all siloed off. It's, hey, how can we kind of just like continue this almost like a storyline or like a plot to a book or a movie, and have it almost be like sequential to where it's like, okay, this feels like we're continuing to be focused and methodical. There's precision and there's thoughtfulness, but
Hmm.
there's also a large enough focus to where it doesn't get pigeonholed, and
Hmm.
to where the conversation like gets dry or stalled out.
Correct.
Most conversations, like I said, really do last several hours. And again, a lot of it just comes back to me really working on my listening skills. And again, not only hearing the words that are coming out of people's mouths, but how they're saying it. And when you take all of that into consideration and you're actually hyper engaged with what is being shared, then to me, it's not always, but it's pretty straightforward. It's substantially easier to then think, okay, hey, based on the conversations over these handful of weeks, based on what we were just talking about last week, or kind of the note that we ended off on. And again, this is where, again, I'm usually planning like a week ahead. So even, I'm kind of thinking about next week, or let's say, for example, it's like this Thursday, I'm going to be thinking about next week's Thursday before even like this Thursday space happens. And again, it just works out where, again, things have just kind of been meshing and flowing together. And again, it just goes back to less of less of kind of like the farther out kind of thoughts. I try and keep it based on like, hey, where does the most overlap happen with like 25 to 30 to 35 different speakers that maybe come through on any given night, and finding like that strongest area of overlap. And I believe that's really why, again, a lot of these conversations and topics flow is, again, it's looking at the core and seeing like, hey, what's like the next iteration or the next step beyond this. And that's really how I'm able to, come up with these topics to where, again, they're focused enough, but they're not too focused to where it's like, ooh, this is like a niche of a niche. It's like, no, this is broad enough, but there's still enough, like I said, thoughtfulness and intentionality and focus to where, man, you can run with it and kind of take it in a couple of different directions. And that's cool. I tell people, it's like, hey, really anything within this kind of umbrella, like go for it, run with it,
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So let's see. Looks like we've been going for a little over an hour. I've kept you here. Uh, so perhaps maybe we can start kind of getting into our closing questions. What do you think?
Sounds great to me.
Alrighty. Well, question number one, and this is something that from our conversation before the show. You had shared some of your friends' content with me. They are streaming on YouTube, and you were talking about how they've been kind of like, or not YouTube, I'm sorry, on Twitch, and you've been you shared that they've kind of been trying to grow a presence on Twitch and kind of like really be there for their community. I was wondering if you could share their name with me again and kind of share a little bit about what they do on their streams with our friends here.
Definitely can. So it's the Ninja Cat community.
Ninja Cat. Okay.
Yep. If you go over to X right now, and funny enough, I was just leaving a comment
Mhm.
on a post here that someone had left. People I guess feel inspired. They're doing a quote repost train today, mentioning some losties are mentioning me. So I'm doing my best to
Aw.
show some love across the board to people. But the Ninja Cat community, if you go on X right now, and I'll just kind of walk alongside you guys too. The handle is at Soul SOL Ninja Cat Soul. So Soul Ninja Cat Soul is their handle, but Ninja Cat CTO ticker NC. You'll be able to find them on X.
Okay.
Again, they live stream twice a week over, as they say, the purple app. They do their best not to like directly mention Twitch on X.
Yeah.
To limit like shadow banning and all the limiting factors that maybe you have then algorithm wise with Grok.
Mhm.
So that's how they say they always get a kick out of it. But they have funny enough, they actually have they'll have a space here coming up shortly in about 28 minutes. They have a community space every
Oh,
Monday. Yep,
nice.
10 p.m.
I'll
10
join.
p.m. EST. Yeah, every single Monday, 10 p.m. EST space over on X, and then Wednesday, and then Friday. Again, same time there as well. They run that on Wednesday, Friday live streams on Twitch, and Wednesday nights kind of more of the, not always, but kind of more of like the chiller kind of community hangout night, where there's more again kind of like personal interactions. Friday night, as they say, is kind of the main card,
Hmm.
where they highlight and sponsor different NFT collections, different communities here on the crypto Twitter side of things.
Hmm.
And it's really just started to blossom. Like a lot of people go from basically being the featured project for that week, and as it's gone on over many weeks and a couple of months now, where they've really had, again, a focus and intent on, again, highlighting different groups. Again, super thankful Long Lost was one of the first handful that really got promoted and featured, which was really, really cool. It was a big honor. And it's grown so much even since we got featured a couple of months ago now. But they really do again what they can to again do these really sweet like stream overlays and these different scenes. Like they custom build them
Mm-hmm.
for each and every
I can
project, so
tell.
it feels personal, it feels tailored. Like it's a whole experience between the entertainment factor that Cody and Bubba bring, and they have a great supporting cast behind them with Wander, with Ava, with Jimmy. I mean, they got so many great people that are a part of that group that help them from, again, like the song production and the videos to the website, the dev related items. Like there's just so many cool things that they're actively doing together. And so I love to support them because they've been very genuine. I got to meet Cody and Bubba in person at the Miami Art Basel event just this last year in December.
Oh, nice.
And so it was cool. Yeah, it was really cool after many months of interacting with them on Spaces and the live stream to actually see them like face to face in person was an absolute treat and honor.
Nice.
I text with them pretty often, and again, they're just a great source of wisdom and insight, and they've been huge supporters to me just personally as well. So yeah, I can't say enough good
Mm-hmm.
about them. But again, they have those touch points throughout the week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So it's kind of spaced out, spread out. So even if you're kind of like, oh my gosh, like I know it's usually again kind of the almost like the weekly withdrawal of like, oh my gosh, like Friday night stream's over, like see you guys in a week. But they do have those touch points again to where it's like you don't necessarily go too long or too far without having some sort of touch point with them. Again, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So it's easy for people to still stay connected even if again there's different things happening in life or something pops up. It's like, okay, well, 2 days or a couple days later, there's going to be something that we can listen into or interact with, directly talk with people. And I think that's really really sweet. So yeah, they have my full support. They've been again doing great things now over 9 months. And they started out at ground zero at nothing with very humble beginnings with their
Yep.
setups, and they've been investing into their setups and their equipment. And again, they really bring a high level of production and
Yes.
entertainment to these spaces. And that's where I just like to like shout them out and do what I can to connect them with other people. Not to say that they've figured it all out. There's again still striving for Twitch partnership. But again, I think that there's something about again someone like yourself who's been around the streaming game for a while. And again, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of way that you guys are going to be able to learn from one another as you've seen the trends and ebbs and flows over a longer period of time. And they're certainly riding a wave of momentum over the last 9 months now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably some things that maybe you could learn from them with how they've been able to garner a lot of new support. And kind of the final point I'll say is as they've gone about this week by week, they do have that core group of people that love to support the Ninja Cat community. But as they feature new groups and new communities week by week, they kind of start to pick up more people as it's like, wow, like they showed the love to our community. I want to continue to be there in future weeks. And so it's very much just like a kind of like a brick by brick process of adding another group and getting more people to want to come back for the future week and just continue to show that love and support to the next group, to the next community. So it's been really cool just to see how like each week feels like it's like stacking momentum and stacking more wins on top of one another. And they've really have created a great formula in terms of posting and
Yep.
and promoting and getting people hyped up and excited about the next stream or the next space. Again, they've done a great job. So again, I could get super passionate and super excited about what they're doing, and the same goes for other people too that I have the opportunity and fortune to connect with at a deeper level too. So yeah, that's my breakdown. That's kind of my overview of the Ninja Cat crew. Can't say enough good about them.
Yeah, I really appreciate that you shared them because, like I mentioned earlier, I'm always looking for new, talented, amazing people to feature on this show. So, I mean, you never know. So I made sure to go over to their Twitch. I dropped a follow. Yeah, it looks like they're getting good momentum for like the time that they've been doing it. And I also dropped a follow on on X, as well as I even commented on their space reminder for for tonight's space. I left a nice note about you, Peanut. I said my boy Peanut is putting me onto this space. So, I'll definitely pull up if there's the opportunity to speak or anything, introduce myself. I would definitely like be more than happy to. Um, and yeah, just start following these guys. You 100% on you were 100% on like their level of production. Yeah, they do seem to have something like first off, yes, everything is custom made. I can definitely see it here. And also like the shift in themes pertaining to whatever project they may be featuring. I see the theme here, the stream theme for the Meta Vixens NFT project. How they made something special for that. Very cool. Very cool. All right, all right. Now I'm very happy. I'm satisfied because I got to, kind of circle back on this topic that we went through earlier, so that I can kind of like, lock in and support and follow them as well. Like if you're recommending them, they have to be great. Let's see, let's see. I got two questions left for tonight's show. First question would be, what is next for you or any of the projects that you're involved with? Do you have any big plans, or is there anything new that you're excited about?
For me right now, I would say the biggest things are actually some kind of more personal things, just me as an individual, not necessarily fixated or tied to any one community, but really wanting to double down and focus and kind of bringing this, I guess you could say almost like business concept, or but bringing this idea to life that I've had, I think, with less clarity over several months now, but it's coming to more clarity and focus. I would say probably over the last like 4 to 5 months, as a lot of people reach out to me, and again, I don't know, maybe you could view it from a couple of different angles, but there's a lot of people, again, as I've grown my network and I've connected with more people, again, a lot of people naturally like reach out to me like asking for money, but there's a lot of people that actually reach out like asking just for opportunities, like
Yep.
again, people that want to grow and want to flourish in a particular like skill set or a particular role or function within the space. I'm like, cool, great, like I'll do whatever I can to help people that are very much like focused on that. Like it's the idea of, hey, rather than just getting a gift or rather than just getting the fish, like I want to show someone how they can, like receive their own gifts,
Hmm.
or like kind of like bring it to life, manufactured, or hey, I want to teach you the skills to actually fish rather than just getting the fish. Like, hey, I'm going
Hmm.
to hand you this fish. Okay, well, let me try and help you and teach you how to, again, how to learn that skill set to where you can do it on your own.
Hmm.
And so I'm putting together these different ideas that can hopefully monetize what I've been doing actively over several years now, again, being connected on all these different chains and all these different groups. And in a way, being able to connect people together with more certainty, with less friction, and more value than other people or other groups can. And I think there's certain barriers to entry and certain difficulties being, again, at all levels, whether you're a big agency or organization, whether you're somewhere in the middle, or whether you're someone that's just starting out. Again, there's going to be challenges at any level. But I think there's something unique about, again, kind of taking this on or spearheading it by myself and knowing that I'm really, at the end of the day, I want to be the best connector possible out here, to be the top connector. And it's a lofty goal, it really is. But I think you have to set your vision and kind of your North Star for whatever it is, for everyone listening and tuning in right now. You have to figure out, hey, what's that North Star? What's that thing that's lofty? What's that thing that scares me, but it resonates so deeply with yourself at the core? Like that's something that you need to take time to kind of just like take self-inventory of and wrestle with, but then actually like put action and to put decision making into that. And so there's something again about being kind of at a lower level or lower barrier to entry where again it's not necessarily going to be these astronomical costs that certain agencies charge to work with them, again because they have an assortment of marketers and people that have garnered a certain reputation that can share and promote their product or help with spaces or whatever it might be. No, it's simply saying like, hey, what can we do to get as clear and concise of kind of like a profile or a bio on what it is that you're doing or what it is that you're looking for, and essentially being able to like match make people, but doing so in a way where there's less liability that has to be taken on by me. It's simply saying, hey, these people care enough to do X, Y, and Z, or they'll put these resources up front to get connected here. And there's that level of trust and credibility that I believe I've been able to build. Again, obviously, it takes a lot of effort, and there's still so much room to grow. It's not to say I've just like I've capped out by any means, but it's being able to leverage and to lean on the trust and credibility that I've been able to garner with people, and knowing that like, hey, if Peanut's going to do this, it's going to be a great resource. It's going to be a great avenue, again, for people to connect. Again, having as little friction as possible. That's the biggest thing. And so I want to be a place where people can connect, have it be truly a hub to where, again, people know that there's a level of professionalism, there's a level of seriousness and really just caring, to where it's like, hey, you know what? Okay, this person's in this group, or hey, this is going to be like kind of a conglomerate. It's going to be a place where all these people can come together, kind of like a hub. And again, I know there's a lot of people that do it, but again, there's friction with, again, not necessarily being networked out wide enough, or people get too focused, too niche in one area, to where it really hurts and limits their exposure and their traction that they can garner. And so I say that all to say that is going to be of direct benefit to any of the groups I'm connected to. Again, if there is a clear area, if there's an area where there's clarity and there's an understanding of what it is that people are bringing of value to the table, well, there's going to be, again, less wasted time and just less wasted efforts on trying to connect and meet new people. And that, again, is going to be just a great place for anyone in any of these communities that wants to tap in. They can see firsthand, like, oh wow, like this can open up opportunity. This can open up doors, for new opportunities, and for people, again, to just connect and network in a way that I don't think has really been facilitated prior. So again, kind of more focused on like my personal venturing journey,
Yes, sir.
but I'm going to make it be of something of value for everyone that I'm connected to.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Thank you for sharing. And then our final question is, for anyone who wants to become a connector, just like yourself, what would be one piece of advice that you'd give to them?
Boiling it down to one thing, I would say, man, you have to have a high level of conviction and passion
Yep.
for what it is that you're going to jump into. It, I believe it's contagious then with the consistency that you'll have. It'll be contagious with the effort that you input into things. Again, if there's a passion and conviction, it's going to carry over into, I would assume, or I would hope, the credibility that you're able to foster around said thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it could branch off into so many different things, and you can make the case for other other qualities or characteristics too. But if I had to share one thing right now, it would be that passion and conviction. Because again, if you don't have that, you're not going to have consistency. You're going to drop off, or you're going to go super fast and then try and pull back, and then eventually just completely disengage. Again, if you really care about something, again, you're going to be mindful of how it is that people perceive you. I'll
Yep.
kind of end on this. You have to be mindful. First off, you have to really not care what people think, but at the same time, you have to be mindful of how it is that people perceive you or receive your presence and your energy and your words.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like a balance with that too. And again, that all ties back to conviction and passion. Again, if you don't have that, it's going to be hard to have any depth, to have any substance with whatever it is that you're doing. So for me right now, with where I'm at, you got to have that non-negotiable. And if you don't have that, I would urge you to explore and to find said things that you do actually have a conviction and a passion for, that you're thinking about literally daily,
Mm-hmm.
almost all the time. Again, it's got to be like a little bit of an obsession. That's why I kind of said like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you got to have a little bit of like a almost like psychotic, kind of like a crazy personality around things, to the point where it's like people may question you like, what's this whole thing about? You put so much time and effort. Again, it almost seems like abnormal to people. And to be honest, you need that with anything that you want to have scale and be of success. Like, you think of the industry leaders all across the world in different fields. It's like there is an obsession, there is a hyper focus on said things. Again, not saying that it is or isn't going to get to that scale. It very well could be, if you do have, again, like a deep, like, rooted desire and fire in something. But if not, again, like I said, find what it is and do everything that you can to stay as connected and invested into that as possible. I think that's probably one of the best things that I could just, end on that, for the stream, for the stream here tonight. That would be the biggest thing. I just encourage you guys to wrestle with and to explore yourself. It's not necessarily something that other people can do for you. You really have to do yourself, because again, you know yourself best. It's your journey. No one else is going to make those decisions for you. You
Mm-hmm.
have to make them yourself.
Yep, 100%. And yeah, thank you for sharing the wisdom. And just final thing, or question I wanted to ask is, do you have any final thoughts for our friends here tonight who have stuck around, and the newcomers as well?
I would say make sure that your circle of people that you're involved with here are bettering you, are adding value to you, are pushing you forward in some shape or form or some sort of way. Make sure that, again, like I said, that there's passion and conviction in what it is that you're doing. Continue to have that self-belief and self-confidence in you. Again, there's going to be so many things that possibly rattle you or could possibly kind of like take you down, and you have to have that daily reminder, whatever it is, of, hey, you're on this path, you're on this journey for a reason. And again, I think it's super important for any one of us in the space, to have awareness of those different things I just mentioned. Again, beyond that,
Yep.
there's a lot of things we could touch on, but at the core, again, what I think is of most value right now, it's those couple of areas. Again, never hesitate. Final thought: never hesitate to jump into new spaces, jump into new live streams, and just new communities, and do what you can to learn something new. I truly mean it. Learn something new each and every day. Maybe it's something more technical. Maybe it's something more around like human behavior. Maybe it's something even like a writing style, or learning a new way to a new avenue of content.
Mhm.
And do that every single day. For me, like, those are like the two foundational things: meet someone new, learn something new. If you're doing that, you're going to allow yourself to have a proper inflow and a proper outflow. To think of it like a body of water. You know, you have something that fuels or brings in, you know, said lake or pond or whatever it might be. And you probably notice with some of those bodies of water that get a lot of algae and kind of like nasty things, it's oftentimes because, again, there's not a proper flow of water. Again, inflow, outflow. So if you have a proper inflow and outflow, again, having things coming in, but also knowing that, hey, there's also things I need to let go, that I need to move away from, that I need to, again, I need to protect my peace. You guys need to protect your peace. You know, letting things go is very important too. So again, opening yourself up to new opportunities, new information, also being willing to you know, have things move on from your energy, from your presence. And that really is the biggest thing that we, again, if there's one thing that you remember, it should be revolved around just that. Have a proper inflow, proper outflow, and you'll be able to accomplish great things. I'm a firm believer in it.
Yep. Well, thank you once again. And just real quick, moving forward, if you know, if anyone would like to support you, pull up to any of your spaces, what are some spaces they could keep an eye out for?
There's a lot of great spaces. I'm fortunate enough to be involved with or connected. I run a weekly space, Out to Lunch with Long Lost, 6 p.m. EST. There are some great spaces on Wednesday night that I'm getting connected to. Again, just recently, there's a cross chain or an Omni network space that happens between a XRP community, Sui, and then myself, ETH with Long Lost. That happens on Wednesdays. That starts at, I believe it just started last week, and I've truth be told, I've so many different spaces that I'm connected with. But let me pull up, because I actually have a message that I sent to a friend, and hopefully this doesn't rug me here in live time, but I will pull it up because I just got done sharing it. Wednesdays, 7 to 8:30 p.m. EST, Omni Network cross-chain space. 8:30 to 10 p.m. EST. There's a triple threat space that I get to co-host with alongside the Banana Bandit and Poppy. The Banana Bandit is behind PSA. Poppy is behind the Quirkies community. There's also Hops Dungeon, which is a bunch of people from Long Lost that like to hang out, kind of community space, open to any and all people. You know, we don't like, token gate it. We don't, we're not particular about it just being community. We open it up to really anyone in the crypto Twitter space, or even just people that are on X. Thursday night, Peanut Gallery, 6 p.m. EST. Saturday, if you guys like talking sports at all, any sports fans, you guys know anyone, a buddy, Eagles and myself rotate hosting on Saturdays, and that usually runs from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. EST, give or take. Any and all sports, wacky and weird sports, anything really sports related, we talk about. So those are a handful of spaces throughout the week. Really, if you guys go to my X page and just turn on post notifications, you'll see I'm in a number of different spaces. Yucky Ducks, they host a number of great spaces throughout the week. They're a newer community this year. I try and jump into a lot of spaces. Man, I'm trying to think of just some of the other people. Later at night, actually, it's usually around like 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. I guess, or probably 1 to 3 a.m. EST. So 12 to 2 a.m. my time, Central Standard Time. There's some great spaces. Some of my international friends, a lot of them from Nigeria, they kind of host spaces around that time. So I try and hit some of that time zone with them. Some of my friends have like 6 a.m. spaces, so 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sherry, she hosts some spaces with the Bull Bears community. There's some great spaces with Esh. It's Esh on X. And then Nessa, it's Nessa on X. They're leading the charge with the Yuki's community, and they host spaces on Sunday and Wednesday, if I'm remembering correctly, that they host. they host a couple times throughout the week. A great community. I could probably go on for about half an hour, but I'll probably end it there too. Again, I would just say turn on post notifications, can follow me around into a lot of great spaces. I do my best to kind of jump, from space to space as much as I can and support other people. But those
Mhm.
are a couple of the communities that, excuse me, I've really been mindful of tapping into and supporting as well. Of course, I'm hoping to get some humanoids, some noid spaces fired back up too with Dre and Left Click. Those usually are like Saturday, like later evening spaces, and then they also did some Sunday spaces as well. So they may be returning back to that here soon. But other than that, like I said, just tap in. I go to a lot of spaces, and there's usually a lot of great people that you can connect with over the course of a week, I would say. So there's a good variety. So final thoughts there for you guys, right on the hour mark here.
Yeah, yeah, right, closing out on the hour. And yeah, sure, I probably should have asked you that question like within the show's format. But one space I did not hear you shout out, which I will reiterate, is the Peanut Gallery, 6 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays, I believe. Was that correct? Let me look at back at my data.
Yes, and
Okay.
it may have gotten lost in the saucer because there were a couple of spaces that I went through. But yeah, that was a part of the message. I think, at least I hope I had shared. Again, a couple of the spaces I'm tapped into be up Thursdays, 6 p.m. EST. Again, we run it for 3 or 4 hours, sometimes a little bit longer. But again, it's just been a great hub of information and wisdom, and it's just been growing and growing and growing. What feels like a rapid pace, but it's very much, I think, symbolic of the bamboo tree too, where things grow pretty slow for a long time,
Yep.
and there's some quick or rapid acceleration that happens in a relatively short period of time. And I feel like there's been some very quick growth that's, again, at least to maybe the kind of the eye that hasn't been as tuned in with my journey, it probably seems like, oh my gosh, like things are just blowing up. But have been hosting, for quite some time. And
Yeah.
it really, like I said, is just of recent where things are starting to kind of blossom in the way that it has. But I've laid
Click
the
this time.
foundation down. Yeah, things have been clicking at a little bit of a different pace, and it's been pretty
Hmm.
refreshing. It's been pretty cool, to say the
I,
least. So,
I, this is awesome. This is awesome. And yeah, I mean, I definitely, from the short time that I have known of you, like definitely seeing the momentum going for you. Like you got something great going, a great presence on X. And so yeah, thank you for taking the time for being here tonight for tonight's episode of Beyond the NFT. A special Labor Day I almost said session, a special Labor Day session slash. Today is actually the 4 year anniversary of the community whose Discord we're currently sitting in right now. The community building Decentraland Discord. It's our 4 year anniversary today. So, yeah, just wanted to give a lot of love to everyone who is listening in. I love Decentraland, and you guys are some of the best people I know. So thank you very, very much for tuning in tonight. And with that said, that is a wrap for tonight's episode of Beyond the NFT. Thank you all for your time, and Mew Mew loves you. We'll be back here next week for another episode. Goodbye, everyone. All right.